Good evening. Calling the Recreation Joint Advisory Committee to order. Happy Monday, everybody. The first item on the agenda is approval of last month's minutes. They have been sent out to the committee in advance. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Kathleen. A second? Any errors or omissions that anyone noted? All in favor of passing them as printed? Any opposed? Thank you, they passed. For visitors, Corey could not make it tonight, so it looks like we're going to have 2 open positions on the committee that we are receiving applicants for. Corey was one of them. We have some others coming in right now, so they will all come to next month's meeting. Corey had to go to a funeral, unfortunately. So we will jump right into the amenity reports. Robert with Metfield.
All right. Well, the fitness center was very busy the days I visited. The pavilion area was clean, not being used at the time. Park restrooms looked great, but the men's restroom was out of toiletries. Playground looked great with fresh malt chips. That looked awesome. Pickleball courts were in use, and the course looked great. Pool areas still closed. Areas for review, and I'm not sure whether this happened since the last time I was there. I try to get there once a week, but I noticed the basket on the north end of the basketball court, the entire structure is gone. How long has that been gone?
About 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's on order.
Great. So I just want to bring that up. Otherwise, everything else is great. The members I've spoken with all had positive things to say. So.
I'm sorry my mic wasn't on, but the basketball hoop has been gone for about 2 weeks. The part's on order, and we'll get up as soon as we can.
Robert, thank you. The next 2 amenities are mine. Branchwood, this is pretty quick. I was there Saturday a week ago. Before noon, it was really quiet. The most active area was the walking trail, followed by disc golf. Everything out there looked really good, and everything was so green, but it was all the rain, which might be why I noticed. I had no areas for review, and I didn't talk to anyone. There really weren't many people around. But I think 3 of the disc golf courses, there's big brown patches, and I think they really just stood out because everything else was so green. The only other thing that I observed was there was that real pretty tree back by the back deck behind the pool, and he died. So unfortunately, he's gone. And I've always known the book loan area was there where you can go. For those of you that don't know, inside of Branchwood, you can borrow a book, if you will. You just sign it out and then you bring it back. And I've known it was there, and I just spent some time like looking at it, and it seems to be pretty active if you look at the people signing in and out. So that's a pretty cool thing. And since my sister-in-law thinks I spend too much money on books, I'll have to start using that more often. Over at Loch Lomond, I went there right after. Again, extremely quiet over there as well. The biggest thing going on was there were a group of high school girls that were participating in batting practice on the field. There was no one in either of the dog parks. Under area for review, there was a large branch that fell from a tree. It's on the Glasgow side of the walking path, but it fell in the grass in the non-walking area, so it's not like a hazard, if you will, but it looks like the rest of the branch could possibly come down. Again, far enough away from the walkway that it's not an immediate concern, but it's right across from Glasgow, right where that sign is. It says no carts or something. It's pretty easy to see, and I have a picture in there if you need it. And then under additional observations, I guess it's a comment or a question. I used to always see people fishing out at the creek over there, and after the flood last year, that beautiful flood, you can't really get back there easily anymore without crawling over all kinds of stuff. And I was just wondering if anyone ever gave thought to maybe making a little path so people could get, looking at it that day, it's really pretty, the water coming down and going around the creek. It's beautiful. If people like to fish there, maybe someday just making a path so it's a little more accessible is just a brain thought. That's all. Those were my only comments. Moving on to Kathleen at Blowing Springs.
You know, one note on Branchwood, I don't know if there's been an experience of this closer to the fitness center, but we had a pickleballer that had her window busted out last week, and someone grabbed her purse, which seems so daring and silly. And in a pickleball communication group, someone said there's a homeless person that I don't know if that was a reach that's riding around on a scooter there, so.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one. Tom may be able to elaborate, but unfortunately, there have been some break-ins, not just at Branchwood, but in Bella Vista more so. We're ramping up as there's more activity in the spring and the summer. I don't know, Tom?
Yeah, I had a conversation with one of the police officers, and we're planning on adding some additional camera, or actually, we don't have any camera. We're gonna add cameras to Tanyard Creek Nature Trail. That appears to be a favorite location. I'm really surprised at Branchwood, especially.
You're so close to the parking, it's so daring.
It's really surprising to me. So we are planning on doing that there, and then we're planning on adding some additional cameras at this location at the country club. I think they're sitting back, you can't see them. They know when you leave your car at Tanyard Creek, you're gone for at least a half an hour, and that gives you more than enough time to get in and break in. So we plan on adding cameras, but we've had to pause that because we're looking at potentially expanding that parking lot, and the expansion of the parking lot is exactly where we were going to put the pole to hold the camera, so we can get a straight shot of when the car leaves the parking lot. We wanted it like immediately across from where you exit, but that's potentially where the entrance would be to the expansion. So we've had to pause that, but we are moving forward with adding cameras at the country club. And we're probably, unfortunately, gonna have to add them at additional locations, but it's not a cheap or easy endeavor. In some areas, it's not easy to get wiring or power out to where we need it, so.
Unfortunately, it's not unique to Bella Vista. I've been hearing of several incidents at the Bentonville Dog Park, unfortunately, as well, also during broad daylight, so it's a sad situation. Kathleen?
All right, Blowing Springs. I went by this afternoon, pretty close to the meeting, actually. The weather wasn't the best, but the park looked great as usual. The bathrooms were clean and the trails were clear. It's great to have the Gear Garden open and summer programming back. I was hoping to catch Jazz Night last night, but we didn't get off the lake in time. Areas for review: the trees along the drive past the low water area, like right past the front office, there's a low water. Those right before you kind of get to the RV are getting a bit long. They're hitting my car as I drive through, and I kind of had to move towards the middle of the road. And I just drive like a normal SUV, so maybe we want to consider trimming those back a bit so we're not hitting RVs as they enter the park and eliminate people having to drive.
Are you on the right side going back towards the back of the park?
Towards the back of
You
the
haven't
park.
pulled into the RV
No,
campground?
not yet. Yep. So right when you pass that kind of gravel, low
Yep.
water, they're just kind of right along there. You hit like two little patches of them. And if my SUV is sitting in those RVs, and campers probably definitely are. Member interactions, when I went, it was kind of drizzly, so there weren't a lot of people out. I spoke to Lisa at the front office. I always stop and talk to the ladies at the front office. She said everything's been great. One note that she said that we might want to consider is reliable Wi-Fi. She's noticing that a lot of people are working in the park, and so, which I think remote work is pretty common now, and I would love to sit in Blowing Springs and work as well. So something to think about. I know Wi-Fi has kind of been a point of contention for a bit. Additional observations: not that the bathrooms were stocked, which was great to see. Everything was awesome.
Kathleen, thank you. Brian, happy Monday. Would you like to cover Tyree and Granton?
I certainly will. So out of Tyree, we've started mowing out there. The trash is all picked up. Trash cans have been emptied. They have removed the outhouse from the parking lot. The restrooms are now open again for the season, and those seem to be in good shape, clean and well stocked. Mud mitts were available. Everything at the park looked good except for a couple of maintenance items that I noted, a couple of them possibly safety related. One of the things that I saw, and I don't even want to guess how this happened, but the conduit on the utility pole by the playground has been pulled loose, exposing wire splices, etc., that run up to the light. I guess because that clicked on in my mind, I noticed the utility pole at the ramp has a bunch of bare wire up top with exposed splices, that kind of thing. big electrical no-no there. Erosion problems again at the large culvert just before you get to the big parking lot, and actually I've never seen it this bad so far as I've been checking the park out there at Tyree. This last big rain that we had really ate away at the side of the road there. One of the things that I failed to mention last month and revisited again this month while I was out at Tyree, there at the I would refer to it as the apron, the gravel apron, just before you get onto the boat dock. It looks like that's beginning to erode from underneath because some of the gravel is starting to pull down in. When I checked it again this month, it had increased considerably, so that needs to be probably refilled and repacked until we discover why it's eroding out from underneath there. And also the very first dock board is loose and kind of sticking up there a little bit. Moving on to Granton. Granton, as usual, is beautiful. The honeysuckles were extraordinarily fragrant out there as I was walking around Granton. Everything was mowed. No trash laying about. Trash cans were being empty. Mutt mitts were available. The outhouse was stocked. As usual, people launching boats and recovering boats. I usually don't see too many people hanging out in the park, but always a lot of boat activity for the most part. Grant looked good. I did notice, and it's funny because I brought this up the last couple of months, there was some watercraft moved on the watercraft rack where I have been talking about securing watercraft to the racks just to make sure that it doesn't cause damage to personal property or injury to individuals. But a couple of the kayaks on the top rack, and I'm just making an assumption, had blown and were just hanging by the cables off the backside, and the big canoe that has about a bajillion stickers on it that's been out there was actually slid over. So I don't know if a wind came through there or if that was somebody just hitting something. Can't say for sure.
Is that the big metal canoe, aluminum canoe?
That big aluminum canoe that's got registration stickers from Minnesota and Bella Vista all the way down the side of it, yeah. That's all I have. Thank you.
Hey, Brian, thank you. JP, Lake Avalon?
All right, so we're 2 weeks out from opening the beach, and I couldn't get there this week, but I sent my kids, and I think they had a discussion with you. So the sand has arrived.
Yeah.
So the new sand is there, and that's being put in, so I don't have anything else to say. That's the, yeah.
I think
I'll
that's
give a
very,
little bit of an update when I
okay,
speak.
that's very clever. You sent your kids out to review the park. I love that. Talk about really good, honest feedback, right? That's awesome. Thank you. Richard, you want to cover Kingsdale?
Sure, I just went over there before I came here today, and the pools are all filled up, and Jessica was over there working away, getting things organized. Everything looked really good. Mini golf course looked good. The basketball court looked good. There's somebody there shooting baskets. I'm amazed how many times I go by there and there's people using that basketball hoop. It's usually just one or two people, practicing shooting, but it gets a lot of use, I think. Anyway, the rec center looks great. I didn't really see any issues there. The tennis courts are in pretty good shape, and I know you're aware of the cracking issues on the courts, but 7 and 8, I noticed, and my wife has also kind of cued me in on this, are getting kind of particularly bad. Those are the ones kind of on the northeast side. They've got some pretty serious cracks going in them. And the other thing was the playground still has signs up that it's closed, but there's no barrier or fence around the playground equipment. And so I was kind of wondering what the story is with that.
We've taped it up a number of times. People keep ripping them down. It's the same vandals that probably wrecked it the first time, and so I'll take a look at it again, but we keep putting up caution tape or orange snow fencing. We didn't caution off the whole area because that would take up so much. We literally attached it to the playground. We've done it multiple times, so I'm guessing it happened again over the weekend.
Okay.
I'll check on it.
Yep. I guess that's all I had on that. But I guess as an aside on that crime issue, the smash and grabs, I would anticipate that problem's gonna get worse rather than better going forward, just because the jail's full and they're not keeping people for misdemeanors there at all. They're not holding them, they're just booking them and letting them go. And even some nonviolent felonies, they just don't have room to keep them. So there's a lot of people out running around that didn't used to be out running around, just in terms of from the county jail facility being overcrowded. And I don't know that that's going to be resolved anytime soon, you know, because the expansion, they tried to get an expansion, but it got voted down, and, you know, but I'm just gonna, no soapbox on that, but.
I'd just like to add a positive note to the fitness center at the BVRC facility. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but there's been some added bling to the unit. An incredible sculpture out there in Cactus Garden. That's impressive. I just wanted to make that note.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. Keith, you're up next. Lake Anne and London.
Okay, starting with Lake Anne, visited there last Sunday in the dam park, the dam area, waterfall bridge and trail in great shape. The covered fishing dock, fish cleaning station, all in fine shape, as well as the trash cans. The one area to review in the dam area, the waterfall bridge cable, one of the tensioners is pulled loose from the base, so the whole cable is a second from the bottom. It's not dangerous, but eventually we may lose that cable. It's just the bolt just pulled out, so it may need a larger bolt to reattach. And I included pictures. Issues on the large fishing dock. There were actually 4 total boards either missing or damaged. One was hanging perpendicular into the water. Just must be an ongoing process. You know, I noticed one in March that had been repaired, and now there's 3 or 4 more. In the ramp area, 2 canoes, 2 kayaks had 2022 or later registration. The dock boat area is starting to fill up. All of those boats have proper registration. And there was one like working vessel, perhaps someone working somewhere on the lake and starts and ends their day there at the ramp area. There was one part without registration, but I'm sure it was a short-term thing. Had piping laying on the deck. Going on to London Park, condition was fantastic. Again, last Sunday, no member interaction at either of my visits. The Lake Windsor water level is fantastic with the rain we've had. It makes the appearance of the park so much nicer when we have water in the lake. Grill picnic area, great shape, as well as the bathrooms, fish cleaning station, all boats properly registered except one green kayak. I included a picture. And strangely, there was one rough-looking Sweetwater pontoon that was tied over by the river that had kind of turned sideways, almost blocking the river. Just an eyesore. It didn't have proper registration, and I don't know if it just short-term, someone's going to do the work on the boat.
It was down at the dam, tied up at the dam, and we had a kids event there, and we asked that it be moved, or the Rangers actually moved it there, and we've been trying to figure out who it belongs to.
Isn't that crazy?
But I need to check again and see if it's gone.
Yeah.
I think it was someone who was using it for work on the lake, but I don't know who it belonged to.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough looking. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Keith. And Alan, would you like to bring us home with Tanyard Creek and Blowing Springs Trails?
Tanyard Creek, the best of the best.
With the
Anyway, I was there yesterday about 10:30, and the beautiful upper parking lot that has just been resurfaced and restriped was totally full, overflow parking. I counted a total of 92 cars, and the park was just full. You couldn't go anywhere without running into people. My wife and I hiked most of the whole park, and the upper portion where you usually never see anybody, we saw 30 people up there. So anyway, and at the Pigpen Trail, there's a tree that has fallen from the bluff above and it's hanging over the trail. You probably already know about it, I would think. But anyway, overall condition, well maintained, aesthetically pleasing. It's clear of underbrush and litter. Signs are all in good working order. And it's great to have the overflow parking. Maybe, possibly one day it could be paved. I don't know. We'll see.
We've hired a surveyor. I don't know if you saw that on
did.
Thursday or Friday. There was a
Tripod.
tripod out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and we've hired a civil engineering firm to actually draw off the plans. So, and then once we get all that, then we'll have an idea of how much it's going to cost, and we can go to the board and see what they have to say. But we're definitely moving in that direction.
Yeah, and I did go by also on Friday, and the upper parking lot, I call it, was full. Overflow was not open, and so people were turned away. I talked to several different people, and I guess the overflow at the construction site is closed. I didn't go down there, but I assumed it's closed right now.
Well, yeah, because we're getting a lot of supplies in, and a lot of delivery of earth, and soil, and so
Yeah.
forth, and so we had to close the driving range portion.
Yeah.
But we normally open it up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but sometimes we can't.
Okay.
The overflows Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but when it is raining or has just rained,
It did.
we want to keep that field from getting
Good.
rutted up. So,
Yeah, I noticed a few, ruts that had already been created
Yes.
down there.
want to
Okay,
keep that to a
good.
minimum.
Good deal. I had quite a few member interactions. Got complained about ample parking. The waterfall feature, of course, was shut down, I guess, to fill the lake back up at one point. And people were coming back out, and I'd say, "Hey, how you doing? How'd it go?" "Well, we came to see the waterfall." And I told them, I said, they're working on, the docks and everything. They had to shut it off to fill it back up.
We were dry for the month of all of March and end of part of April. And the lake just wasn't moving like it
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
And so we had it cut off, except for we maintain a trickle to supply the stream,
Right.
so it doesn't completely dry up. But we had it at a very minimum flow to allow the lake to fill up.
It was rocking and rolling yesterday.
Yeah, and it,
It was beautiful.
Probably all last week.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, everybody was very complimentary of the amenity. One thing, in that paved walkway, and they call it phase 2, there's just an open area. It looks like maybe an acre or half an acre in there. Is there ever been anything going on in there, or any plans, or?
I don't know of any plans.
Okay, but
That was
it's,
just kind of an open natural area. There's the power lines run through there.
right.
So I'm sure that would impact what could be done.
Can be done. Okay.
I'll say this too. I thought if they pave the overflow area, that it will take away from what some people seem to enjoy, picnics on the big grass, letting their dogs run. Of course, they have them on leash, but we need that parking. But you miss kind of.
It is a give and take. I mean, I don't have a good answer for you. I know that having additional parking is going to have a negative impact on the trail. Hopefully it's not too much of a negative impact, but we know this is even before we closed the parking lot for the driving range, we were having parking problems every beautiful weekend.
Yep.
We were having problems.
Yeah.
And those neighbors are really kind of at their wits' end, and they have me on speed dial. So I think I think it's time that we need to expand that parking lot, and then potentially just dedicate more resources to maintaining the trail.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess my suggestion is long-term, nothing urgent, but we do have open land behind the north trail you mentioned.
Yeah.
That could just be cleared and grassed.
That could be cleared and
With, at
grass.
minimal cost,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
long-term.
Without
Alright.
building anything, that would be a low-cost addition.
Any additional thoughts, Alan?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
no, you're fine. Go
carrying
ahead,
on.
please.
No, not on Tangent Creek. Now, if I can get back to the other, Blowing Springs and other trails. Overall condition, Bella Vista back 40 and the Blowing Springs and Little Sugar Trail conditions can be accessed. The best way I found is to go to their Facebook site, and they're always spitting stuff out. What's going, a tree down on over here, this and that, the trail's washed out over here. And if you're planning on going out there hiking or biking or whatever you do, I would access that before I went and to see if something, you might want to take another trail or whatever. Let's see. Oh, on the Greenway Trail, the paved portion from the entrance to Houston Road, there's several areas that gravel has washed from the recent 10-inch rain we've had in the last 10 days. And I'm sure it does it all the time. And it's usually cleaned up really quick. But there's a bunch in there right now. And for bikes, it's a little bit risky when you're flying through there and you hit a pretty good sized rock, you can go down. But as far as hiking, it's no problem. You can get through there. But that's the only thing I really saw. I had 4 contacts yesterday and all positive feedback. I don't know, is there a water fill station anywhere in there around the Gear Garden, like that bathroom? Is there? I just hadn't seen it yet, right?
There's a big blue drinking fountain, which is on the side that the Gear Garden is, kind of in the corner of the parking lot.
I know where you're talking.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that's it.
Alan, thank you so much.
Okay.
Did I miss anyone this month? Awesome. And for those of you who went out today, you are really brave. That storm this morning, I was driving in it, and when I came out today, one of our neighbors lost a roof. A whole tree like went root ball in the air into their house. So yeah, that was a rough one.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to current businesses. Are you gonna continue doing gun range updates, or are we ready to wrap that up, Tom?
I'm gonna give a verbal. I don't have a nice PowerPoint today. So the acquisition of the lot, we are that close. This is the additional land surrounding the existing gun range. We're really close. We had to go through the city of Gravette and do a lot split, which is not an easy thing, but we signed off all the paperwork. We just have to pay the money now, which is not an issue. It's already been approved by the board. So we're really close to acquiring the land. I did see on social media someone was commenting incorrectly that the project must have been delayed by the Blue Crane acquisition. That's not the case. That land was not part of the deal, so that's not correct. We're supposed to start construction within the next 2 weeks, I've been told. So we're heading in the right direction, and we'll give you a more formal update in the coming months. But we're definitely, this is all the behind the scenes boring stuff that takes forever, getting permits, getting the land transferred, all that stuff. So while it may not be evident and you may not be able to see it, we're working steadily in the right direction.
Awesome, thank you for that. Joan, did you have the Trailblazer report this month?
I sure do.
Thank you.
So April was very busy. Just some overall stats, up 28% from March. And this is interesting, almost 14% year over year. So from last April, this April was 14% busier on the trails. We had a total of almost 26,000 weekday uses, weekend uses about 17,700. Monthly total, and again, reminder for those of you that aren't as familiar with the trackers and the counters, this is just of the areas of the trails that we track. We don't have trackers on all the trails, and that's really increasingly hard now that we're up to some 120 miles of trails. But 43,620 some uses over the month, and the busiest day, for whatever reason, was the 21st of April. And yeah.
Quick question on the Lake Bella Vista Bridge washout. I don't think that's part of our.
It is not.
But do we have a perception whether there's a chance that would even reopen it because of the washout?
So, and Tom can address this too, but if you're talking about the actual trail versus, where you're talking about where the dam is, or are you talking about the trail over closer to Walgreens?
Walgreens side.
Yeah, so that is Bentonville Parks and Rec, and they're still looking at the erosion, and so TBD.
It's pretty sad because it was down for so long and just got reopened, and it looks, the pictures I've seen look devastating. Like there's a slim chance it could reopen.
Yeah.
Well, look at that, just north of where that bridge is behind Crylike. They've redone that trail 3-4 times in the last 5 years, and every time they move it to the left closer to the highway and it gets taken out, and they move it again, taken out, and I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
I will say that and this is much longer term, part of the Blue Crane infrastructure and whatnot, they have a vested interest in all that area. So if there's something that can be done, that will be looked at in the future.
And
But
there's money to be had probably for that investment.
I'm
from the
not
Blue Crane.
at liberty to say.
Yes.
Not my
Okay.
money.
History shows there may be a lot of money to be.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to new business. For those of you listening, I'll just explain the background. So there are 9 members on this committee. When you come onto the committee, if you come into a full open position, you serve for 3 years. So every year, 3 people roll off the committee. However, if someone leaves in the middle of a term and you come into that position, you may be expiring in less than 3 years, and we have some of that going on this year. So we have 3 people rolling off. The first one is Kathleen, the second one is Keith, and the third one is myself. Kathleen and Keith are in partial terms. They both would like to rerun for the committee, so we will take a vote tonight on each of them in that order. I have served a full 3-year term and have made the decision not to consider for another term. So I will be done as of June 30th of this year. So let's start with Kathleen. Would someone like to make a motion to nominate Kathleen to serve again on the rec committee?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Thank you. Do I have a second for Kathleen? Okay, and I have a second. Is there a discussion? All in favor? All opposed? You didn't vote. In favor or opposed? Okay. Kathleen passed unanimously, I think. I think. Okay, moving on to Keith. Would someone like to make a motion for Keith to join for another term on the committee?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Kathleen. Do I have a second? I'll second. Thank you, Brian. Discussion. All in favor of Keith moving forward for another term, a full term? Any opposed?
I would have wanted to because she opposed her own.
Thank you, guys. So that passed unanimously. There are now, yes, thank you. There are now 2 openings on the committee, Matt's, and then my position will be available on June 30th. We do have some applicants, and I anticipate they will be here next month to meet you and talk to you, and then we can move forward on what we want to do there. So thank you for that. I do not see anyone from the board here tonight, so we will skip that portion and we'll move right into staff reports. Tom?
So real quick, if you have not yet voted, please make sure you do so. We, just as about an hour ago, we are at 22.8% of the vote. Typically, we wind up at 25%-ish. With 8 days left, we might exceed that by a little bit, maybe 26%. So if you're at home and you haven't yet voted, please do so. Time is limited at this point. Also, I don't know if you saw in the newsletter, but on Friday it was announced that Director Abb had resigned from the board of directors. He actually resigned on the 6th, which was a week ago today. He resigned because he works for Runway, which is closely affiliated with Blue Crane, which recently purchased Cooper's interest in Bella Vista. And so he felt that there might be a conflict of interest. We thank him for his 4 years of service on the board. So we now have an opening available. If you're interested in serving, please make sure that you submit an application. We did one modification. In previous years, we've asked people to fill out a resume, and not everybody has a resume or they don't have a resume updated. But to run for the board, we have people fill out a candidate profile. So we just adopted the candidate profile as the application. We're going to accept those candidate profiles up till March 23rd at 5 p.m. May, how am I doing? May 23rd. You'll notice that we did the deadline after the results are out for the general election. A person that is not elected could submit an application that way if they so choose. And then the board, for that open position, it will be a 1-year position, and it will be filled by the board of directors. And they've already committed that they will interview everybody that submits an application or the candidate profile, and they will make that decision. Questions for anybody? So if you're interested in serving, submit a candidate profile, and you never know. All right, just make sure it's before the deadline.
Thank you, Tom. Rick, you have anything for us?
Yes. As we talked about, the Windsor drawdown is in the rearview mirror. We're looking at possibilities of what to do for the fall. Our ranger contacts went crazy in April. We had 2,300, a little over 2,300 contacts in April. That should be 4,300. I'm sorry, up from 2,800 in March and a little over 3,000 in March of 2023. Grounds maintenance. We've been talking about the pavilion roofs this spring. The third one has been completed now, so all of those are done and looking good. The heated dock at Lake Avalon is complete except for some painting and staining of the deck boards. Let's see. Chris Fuller I wanted to specifically point out Chris Fuller. He's been really busy over the last couple months, and he and Kayla in the Lakes Ecology Department, but they most recently pulled 30 tires from a deep water area on Lake Windsor down by the dam. They've also had 3 field trips that they took part in over the last 3 weeks. We did the aquaculture open house this past weekend. We wish that we had better attendance, but it was a pretty weekend, and I think everyone's attention got divided among all the things that were available to do. And then this coming weekend we have the fishing derby, and then he just finished up the they've spring electrofishing for the year, so he's been extremely busy. Speaking of the upcoming fishing derby, it's going to be at the Metfield Clubhouse Pond again this year. I was just there before I came to this meeting and fed the fish. We've still got fish from previous years, and some of those are approaching 8 pounds. So bring your little ones and help them catch a fish, and make sure they don't fall in, because there's some big ones. But that's for kids between 3 and 15 years of age. It starts at 8 and goes till noon this coming Saturday. We ask that you bring your own bait and tackle. Adults can help assist kids that are having trouble, but it is a kids event. And that's what I have.
You were also competing with a lot of graduations this weekend too.
Yeah,
but-
and Mother's Day, and
Yeah,
it was,
yeah, it was a tough one.
It was tough.
Yeah,
And a big car show.
yeah, there you go. John, what do you have?
I don't have a whole lot this month, but we had 121 for attendance at Ozark Sportsman for April, as opposed to 123 the month before, so pretty darn consistent there. The April attendance for Trap and Skeet was down about 10% year over year, but we missed one tournament in April, and that pretty well makes up for that number. If you remember last year, we were having a banner year at both gun ranges, so being down 10% is not that big a deal, especially with the loss of a tournament. So, and I think we're going to probably make up for it in May, no issue. So, and that's all I've got.
Thank you very much. And Joan, what do you have for us?
Well, not only our team, but Rick and maintenance overall has been busy with the rain. So, with the heavy rain, we get issues such as, flooding areas, sometimes seepage into different buildings and whatnot. So we've all been kind of running and gunning on that. I think most noteworthy is we reopened the BVRC after the week closed down on time. And there's just been a number of positive comments, people happy to be back, people very impressed with the improvement in the arena with the acoustics. So the extra work we did and the money there was well spent. As far as all the electrical conversion, that has been complete. It was very interesting. We had no less than 20 electricians there all week long, quite a big job. The old switchgear was probably taking up the size of this table in terms of width and length, and then went to the ceiling about, 8 feet. The new switchgear has a footprint of about 10 feet wide by about 2.5 feet deep and 8 feet tall. So just a bulk of it was getting the old switchgear out of the building. They had to tunnel under the ground and bring in new conduit, and the new footprint is much smaller, so it's pretty amazing, but we're set up for the next 50 years. So we also did some small things, like we installed a washer and dryer. We're so busy, we need to be able to do just our own rags and towels on site, and changing out things like the shower curtains. So we were able to add the hookup for that and have a washer and dryer now in our back, so that's exciting. To piggyback on what Robert called out, yes, outside of the fitness area proper, if you're facing the windows that face the pool, we now have the sculpture is completely installed. It's called Vantage. It was done by a local artist, Jordan Jones Anson, and there is a really nice succulent garden around it that was completed by Trey, who also runs our marina. So it's a nice thing that you can look out. Also, everybody at the pool this summer will be able to look over towards the BVRC and see it as well. Campground has been very busy, including the gear garden. We did have a problem over the weekend, in case you heard, about the bathrooms. Unfortunately, people put the wrong things in toilets, and it stops up, and it always happens when we're very busy. So that's been fixed over the weekend, and then they finished up today, and we'll be doing some more long-term work on that. The campground and the the cabins are sold out every weekend, so very busy place. The beach was mentioned by JP. We have the sand piled up in the corner. Why we don't spread it until the last minute is because of all the rain we experience. Notoriously, every year we spread the sand, and that week we get a big flood and a gulch down the middle of my beach, but it'll be all right. And my team, with Rick's team help, will be Wednesday out there pulling weeds. You might have noticed there's a lot of weeds on the shore. That happens. So we'll be hand pulling weeds, and we'll be treating the water for any algae that needs to be done. So we open the pools and the beach on Saturday of Memorial Weekend, the 25th. And we have a tennis mixer at tennis on Memorial Day, so that sign up is still ongoing. The marina will start to ramp up. It's been a little slower with the weather, and usually we see the ramp up really hit as soon as school is out. We've added some new classes at the BVRC. We have added them specifically early mornings at 6:15, 3 classes. And we're trying to attract the working crowd that sometimes says, you know, there's nothing for me. It's been interesting though. It's been a lot of people that aren't still working, but some younger folks too, which was also our goal. So exciting to see that. At Branchwood, we've updated the disc golf signs. That was something that Deborah had mentioned a while back that needed some updating. So those have been all updated. We are continuing to keep an eye on mini golf. Appreciate that you noticed that, Richard. I drove by whatever day. It wasn't particularly nice, but there were no less than 25 people out on the Oz mini golf, and a lot of them are adults. So it's kind of fun to see when the adults get out there as well as the kids. Now, in this case, there were kids too, but that continues to be very busy. As far as the playground update there, unfortunately, we're still waiting for the parts. They are shipping out supposedly early in June, and then it should be a quick repair once we get them on site. And then the other thing that has ramped up quite a bit is rentals, because as Deborah mentioned, graduation and all those things that are coming up, nice weekends. At Metfield, the Dogwood Room, that's booked almost nonstop for the next couple of weeks for graduation parties. So I think that's it for me.
Joan, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Great moving through this on time tonight. Any last comments, questions, or concerns, anything we missed?
Yes, I just, thanks for putting up the sign at the beach saying when it's going to open. I think that's really helpful.
You bet.
And then I was wondering, the tennis issue that was here last month, did whatever Jake do sorted all of that out now?
Are you talking about the stairs that got replaced or rebuilt?
The scheduling of the courts.
Oh.
The USTA thing.
We've talked to them, and yes, there were open courts, and we've also made arrangements where we're going to go ahead and do some of the scheduling for them. If you're talking about that Saturday morning group, yeah, Jake's doing some of that scheduling himself rather than forcing the point person to have to call. And so there's been a kind of a coming together in both ways.
All right, thank you everyone very much. The next meeting is Monday, June the 10th, here in the boardroom and live stream. Have a great month. Thank you all.